And this time, what I would figure out was just, could you skydive without a parachute and not just die on impact? So it's actually, people have done this, have survived falls without a parachute before. It's not a common thing, obviously, because it's, generally you're just going to kick it. But it has happened. The Guinness World Record holder for the highest fall without a parachute is Vesna Vulovic. There we go. Serbian names, fun. She was a Serbian flight attendant who fell 33,330 feet. She was on a plane that was actually, it was blown up by a briefcase bomb planted by a Croatian nationalist.
Whoa.
Jesus Christ.
And she apparently, the investigators determined that she survived because she got trapped by a food cart and sort of pinned into the plane, so she didn't get thrown out of it.
Oh, so she fell in the wreckage. She didn't,
this one doesn't
Okay.
entirely count because she didn't free fall, but it's still a crazy enough story that I wanted to share it.
Right.
I mean, for the Guinness World Records, you should have to recreate your feet in front of the judges.
You know what?
Yeah, they have a very strict process.
They do. This is true.
I was really hoping that they had that it was someone they're like, oh yeah, my thing I do is jump out of planes without parachutes, and now I'm gonna bring my Guinness World Records guy to verify my attempt.
No. They also said, by the way, that apparently she had low blood pressure, and that actually may have saved her because it made her black out quickly when the cabin depressurized, and then also stopped her heart from bursting on impact. So that's cool. She got incredibly fucked up by this, obviously, but she did actually regain the ability to walk after 10 months, which is pretty impressive.
Now, when you say heart explode, is that a thing that normally happens?
So I would guess that what would happen is that on impact, it's going to cause a lot of blood to rush to your heart.
Oh, just the
just the
amount of
pressure
pressure in your
that.
body. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool. But yes, as we mentioned, technically not skydiving because she was in the cabin of the plane still, but, close enough. There are some that are closer. There were a few, World War II airmen who, generally there were, tail gunners and bombers that bailed out of their planes because either, usually the plane was spiraling and they flew out, or the plane was on fire. One guy was actually, his plane was on fire, and he basically just decided he'd rather jump out of the plane than die in a burning plane, which, fair.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I think I agree.
Yeah, and he fell 22,000 feet and then landed in pine trees and snow and had a sprained leg, and that was it. But the closest, because that one had a lot of breaking of the fall with the trees and everything. The closest for us is this Alan McGee, who was a tail gunner at B-17, who basically blacked out, got thrown from the plane when it was spiraling down. His parachute had been destroyed by flak, so he wasn't even wearing it, and he crashed through the glass roof of the I have to do French pronunciation. Saint-Nazaire, roughly, sure, fuck it, whatever, train station, and had pretty bad injuries, but survived and was a prisoner of war and got out of that, and was pretty impressive. So that one's pretty close. He fell 22,000 feet through a glass roof, so, you can survive that.
I like the idea that Paul Blart Mall Cop gets a prisoner of war that falls through the skylight into the... I guess it's a train station, not a mall, but
close enough.
Same thing.
And then one more that I just had to share, that it's not even all of his story, but it's part of it, and I just had to. There's this guy, Fran Salak, who was a Croatian man who was referred by journalists as either the world's luckiest man, the world's unluckiest man, or my favorite, the world's unluckiest man, who has escaped death 7 times. So, in 1962, he was on a train in the rain, and it derailed and crashed into a river, and he got pulled to safety, and he only had a broken arm and hypothermia, and 17 other people drowned. A year later, in his first and only plane ride he ever took, the plane door malfunctioned. He was blown out and landed in a haystack and survived, and the plane crashed and killed everyone else on board. In 1966, he was in a bus that skidded off the road into a river, drowning 4 passengers, and he swam ashore with just some cuts and bruises. In 1970, his car caught on fire while he was driving, and he managed to get out before the fuel tank blew up. In 1973, the engine of his car was doused with hot oil from a malfunctioning fuel pump, and flames shot out of the air vents, and his hair got singed off, but otherwise he was unharmed. In 1995, he was struck by a bus and sustained only minor injuries. And then in 1996, he was driving on a mountain road on a curve, and a United Nations truck came around the corner, and he had to avoid it by swerving into the guardrail. But the guardrail broke, his door flew open and he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so he flew out the door and grabbed onto a tree, and then his car fell 300 feet into a gorge.
Okay, if you have been in this many accidents, how do you not wear a fucking seatbelt?
I mean, it actually saved him there.
Are you sure this isn't Bruce Willis from Unbreakable?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't Bruce Willis from Unbreakable. If you're thinking that this all seems pretty unlucky, how has he become the unluckiest man? Then in 2003, he won the lottery and won 800,000 euros. And he's still alive. He's like 90. So, good on you.
Jeebus.
Yeah.
He's gonna die from a really boring reason.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be so underwhelming now.
Or it's going to be the most amazing thing you've ever heard.
Yeah. I don't want to say I'm hoping for that, but
he's gonna get swallowed by a crocodile that fell out of a plane while he's on a train.
Right. Yeah. He's gonna yeah, exactly. So it's technically possible now, but don't try it because it's probably just you're gonna die 99.
So Ben, do you have an answer or just a bunch of fun facts about people falling out of vehicles?
He has advice not to jump out of a plane. That was a clip from Absurd Hypotheticals, the podcast where we answer dumb hypothetical questions. For the full episode, click on the link in the description.